To what extent do artists respond directly and consciously to changes in the world around them? To what extent do they respond indirectly or unconsciously? To what extent can their artwork elide the tensions between opposing ideas in the outside world? And to what extent does their creative work function solely within the realm of art, in dialogue only with other artworks in that same medium? In this module, we set the scene for the last stage of Beethoven's life, in the context of Europe after Napoleon. In particular, we will examine the international diplomatic conference known as the Congress of Vienna, and consider its significance to Beethoven's career. On a more quotidian level, we will attend to some of the more salient details about his daily life during that period. For example, how and why his finances suffered in the years 1811 to 1812. We will learn what we know and what we know that we don't know about his so-called fallow years, 1813 to 1817. We will see why scholars must take care when consulting the conversation books that Beethoven used to communicate as his deafness advanced. We will note how his physical health, and not just his hearing, declined during the last 15 years of his life. And we will delve into the psychology of the composer as an unmarried, childless, middle-aged man, and how his likely desire to play a fatherly role affected his relationship with his nephew, Carl van Beethoven, and with his friend, patron, and student, the Archduke Rudolf, who in 1820 became the Bishop of Olmütz. The latter occasion led Beethoven to compose his Missa Solemnis, which leads us to investigate the intellectual and theological debates about religious faith in the Age of Reason. We will learn about ideas that influenced Beethoven's setting of the ordinary of the Roman Catholic Mass, including the teachings of Johann Michael Zeiler and the doctrine of fideism, and how these diverged from official Austrian Catholic doctrine. Here it will be useful to acquaint yourself with the 5 sections of that liturgy: Kyrie, Gloria, Credo, Sanctus, and Agnus Dei, mainly to understand the ideas that each section conveys and the emotions associated with it. Turning to Beethoven's music, we will survey the general characteristics of Beethoven's late style, and then consider 3 works. In connection with the Congress of Vienna, we will briefly touch on his celebratory piece, Wellington's Victory, Opus 91. We won't study the work in detail, but it will provide a clear example to disabuse you of any remaining notion that Beethoven was a towering genius who could do no wrong. He could, and he did. As announced in this module's title, we will focus our attention on Beethoven's vocal and choral music. For the former, we will acquaint our ears with his song cycle to the Distant Beloved, Opus 98. Note that in classical parlance, the word song strictly denotes a work of vocal music, and usually solo vocal music. Before Beethoven, composers typically published collections of unrelated songs, and so corresponding to the modern notion of an album of songs. A song cycle is a collection of thematically interrelated songs, perhaps even outlining a narrative, and so corresponding to the modern notion of a concept album. And, as mentioned above, for an example of Beethoven's choral music, we will immerse ourselves in his Missa Solemnis in D major, Opus 123, and hear how Beethoven's music illuminates both his Catholic faith and his Enlightenment rationality.